Welcome to eBuilder University's on-demand video training. If you'd like to learn more about additional training opportunities, please contact your account manager. Now let's jump into importing bid scopes.
Good day, everyone. This is Martin Astazarian, eBuilder certified trainer, and today we are going to complete the bidding module video series with the last video in the series, which is talking to you about importing items into a bid scope. So this is something I briefly mentioned, I believe, in the second video of this series where we were actually creating the initial bid scope for our test bid package. I am going to create this video as a separate one, however, to show you how to import those items directly from Excel. So a very short video, but it's a very valuable one to understand in the event that this is the way that you're going to bring in your items via bid scope. eBuilder is very Excel friendly, meaning there's a lot of opportunities to import items directly from Excel into eBuilder, and the bidding module bid scope is one of those items. When we proceed here to the bid scope tab, this is a screen that we saw before earlier in the video series where we had three options in adding bid scope items into our bid scope page. We could either create them manually using the add item button, or we could have applied a template, which is, I think, what we did in the previous video. And now what we're going to do is we're going to explore the opportunity of importing the bid scope directly from Excel. Now, the reason this is a valuable tool is because a lot of our clients will probably have what would be the bid scope items already on some sort of a spreadsheet, and this would significantly reduce the amount of manual entry and data manipulation if they knew how to effectively import all those items into eBuilder. So let's begin. If my intention is to import into eBuilder, I'm going to click the Import Bid Scope button. Now you will get the traditional import page in the bid scope item, which will ask you three initial questions. The first one is going to be, are you adding brand new items? The second, are you adding new and updating existing bid items? Or the third, are you completely overriding the existing bid items? So naturally, we're going to choose the first option, but you can, by reading the second and the third, you automatically should know what those have to do with. So in the event that, let's say, you do have a bid scope already set up for your bid package and you've severely changed it on Excel, you can actually choose the third one, and that will quickly update or overwrite what you currently have. So it's a very useful tool. Now, just below that, you're going to have a link that, believe it or not, most people kind of overlook because they kind of pay attention to the big buttons and the radio buttons here. But this link is very helpful because this link will actually give you the template itself. In other words, what the layout of the Excel sheet should be in order to make the import a lot more seamless. So let's click that and see what happens. So as you will notice, Excel will open and it will give you this basic Excel sheet. And all of these items are column headers that are directly related to fields inside of the bid scope page. Okay. Now, the benefit of doing this is that you don't have to worry about mapping information to the right fields in eBuilder. Now, I want to just put something on the table, though. This template is not necessary in order for you to import something into eBuilder. However, it will indicate the necessary information that is required in order for you to successfully bring it in. Now, as you recall, when we manually put in some items in the previous video, the only two requirements that we really had when we were putting in bid scope items were the item number, which is basically a sequential numbering system for all the items, and a short description. But you also had all of these other unrequired items that we also entered in, right, so that we could kind of show all the details of the individual items, okay? Now, what I've done is I've created an Excel sheet, or I've created a template that already has all these values in it as an example. I'm going to kind of go to it now, that way you can see it, and here it is. So I've kind of pre-filled out this Excel sheet with some values, and look at all the things that I put into it from the Excel perspective. The first thing I did was I called out the item numbers. I did a short description. I did a detailed description, which, in this case is the same one. I made up some spec reference numbers, some part numbers. I decided to go with a unit cost approach. So notice that I put the quantities, I put the units of measure, I put the cost, which, by the way, you do not need to format this to dollars. It will automatically know it's dollars. Also, I formatted the construction codes. I put in the construction code that it was directly related to. A word of caution here, this code will all depend on the division or the year CSI code list that you are using within your account. So if you're using the 1995 code list, this represents mechanical. The most recent one, I believe it's 23 0000. So depending on which one you have configured in your account will be the one that it will accept. If you choose the wrong one, it will cause exceptions. So make sure that you understand what CSI list you are currently using for your projects. And then last but not least, we have the budget line items. Now, this again would only be relevant if you had the cost module in your account. And this completely ties back to what I showed you in the previous video, where when you award a bid package, this is where the functionality of automatically turning those bid scope items into commitment line items is made possible. Because in the cost module, when you're creating schedules of values for a commitment, you have to basically indicate where in the budget it's going to come from. But again, we can get into a cost video later on, and you guys can see how that works from a cost perspective. But ultimately, it allows you to set it up here. Now, one other subtle item on this list that most people don't see right away is this other tab down here called the account code options. If you did have cost and you click this, it would indicate all of the budget line items that you currently have in the cost module within the project that you are trying to import a bid into. So this is very helpful because you don't have to worry about remembering them or having them listed with you on a piece of paper when you're actually doing your template. It will be built in. Okay, so this is something that I think is very helpful in the process of adding a bid scope through import. Now, if I go back to the sheet and I go to this physical column here and I click on it, you will see also that they furnish you with a drop-down list of those account codes. So as you choose account codes for each line item, you can choose them from a drop-down list as opposed to typing them out manually. And I think the reason we did this is because what people were doing was they were typing them out manually and they were maybe putting unnecessary spaces, maybe the hyphens were in the wrong place. And so eBuilder, when it comes to importing, is very sensitive. If the information is not 100% how the field requires to have it, it will generate an exception and it will cause issues in you importing your items into the bid scope item. So this template is going to help you tremendously to ensure that you're putting in all the information the way that you should. Okay? Now, on the left-hand side of the required fields, there's a bunch of other fields here that I'm not going to fill out for the purpose of this discussion, but ultimately, again, we can import all this information into the bid scope, which is sections names, section types, all the things that we saw on the bid scope page. But for now, we're going to concentrate on the most important items, which are the physical items on the bid scope. Okay? So with that said, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go right back to eBuilder as if I just created this for the purpose of my project. So once that's created, I'm going to go ahead and click here, Choose File. I'm going to choose the file that I created. I'm going to hit Next. Now this screen you will always see, this will always be step 2 of 3 anytime that you are importing anything into eBuilder, which is the mapping screen. And what you will notice is that everything here is nice and lined up, everything matches, which means that all the column headers on the Excel sheet are matched up to the fields in eBuilder. Now this proves the point that I said earlier. If you were using your own Excel sheet with your own column headers, eBuilder would let you map those column headers to the appropriate field. So you don't necessarily have to use the template, but again, a best practice would be to do it because of all the conveniences that I just spoke about. It would be good to take that into consideration. But again, if you want to go from your Excel sheet, from your column headers, it's not impossible as long as you understand what column headers you're going to map to what fields in the bid scope. So when you kind of look at all this and you make sure that everything is mapped correctly, you're going to click Next. And now you're going to go to the final step, which again, you will find in every import exercise, which is called the exception step. This is where you review if you have any exceptions. Now, what are exceptions? Exceptions are basically if you've entered data in the Excel sheet and you're about to map it to a field, the system will generate an exception in the event that something doesn't match with what that field requires. So I'll give you a very obvious example. If let's say you are trying to import alpha characters into an integer field, that would cause an exception. I think that's the most extreme example I can give, and most people can kind of relate to that, right? So again, even though the import tool is very convenient, there is a certain level of detail that you have to have when you use it. And this is where it's proven whether you have that detail or not. Because in the event that there are exceptions, what it's going to do is it's going to give you the row numbers of where the exceptions are. So let's go back to our Excel sheet here real quick. If let's say I did generate, let's say out of the 4 rows that I'm bringing into this bid package, out of the 4 rows, if let's say row number 3 had a piece of data that caused an exception, eBuilder would still allow you to import rows 1, 2, and 4, but it would leave out row number 3. Now, some people don't necessarily move forward when that happens because they want everything to come in. But again, I just want to be clear on how eBuilder is going to work. If eBuilder were to generate an exception, it would first identify what row. In this case, it would physically be row number 4, right, in the Excel sheet, and it would identify what the exception is. It could be anything from the wrong construction code or an invalid budget line item number in the event that you're not using the template, obviously, right? This is how exceptions work, and they're a great way to ensure that what you're about to bring in is 100% accurate and it's going to actually work. So the before and after picture, right? So before I import this, I want to kind of show you again what this project that I'm about to do this for looks like before we import it. I'm going to just open it up on another window here. And this is currently what we have. I created the test bid package. And if I go to the bid scope page, this is currently what it looks like. Okay, so now when I go to the import page where I have everything ready to go, I'm going to click import. It's going to say success. The bid scope items have been successfully imported. I'm going to finish. And now all of those items are nicely organized within my bid scope page. So again, importing is a very convenient way to get a lot of line items into your bid scope in the event that you already have them listed in some sort of an Excel sheet. But again, don't forget, the other options of bringing line items into the bid scope is to manually add them one by one, or to use a template, which seems to be the most popular amongst our clients. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.
If you'd like to learn more about additional training opportunities, please contact your account manager.